Welcome to a live episode of Surviving the Survivor. We bring you the best guests in all of true crime. Don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button. Here's your host, Emmy Award-winning broadcaster, Joel Waldman.
What's up, STS Nation, and welcome to another episode of Surviving the Survivor, the podcast that promises to bring you the very best guests in all of true crime. This morning, I am going it alone. We are here to cover the Melody Farris sentencing. Keeping an eye. We're going to be taking this courtesy of Court TV. As you can see, they've got the seal of the great state of Georgia. Thank you to Court TV for the camera for this sentencing. We are expecting it to start any minute, not any murder, was a murder. And before we even get cracking here, just a reminder or notice, this manhunt is still underway in the greater New York City area for the person who murdered the United Healthcare Group CEO. It's the largest private health insurer in the country, and there's some strange developments overnight, not the least of which is some of the bullets apparently had words etched on them. So profilers are looking at that, but it's not every day that you get a message on a bullet. So we're going to be bringing back a bunch of the NYPD guys at 12:30, and we're going to stay on that story. But also of note today is Lori Vallow has basically a competency hearing in the case against her ex-husband, Charles Vallow. And that is not being streamed live. They're not allowing it to be streamed live. So we'll try to post it after the fact as a video, not a live video. And to be perfectly transparent, I'm not sure how we're going to be able to do that if we're doing a couple other shows. So we're going to have to kind of stand by on that one. But for those who do not know, the victim in this was Gary Farris, a prominent attorney in Georgia. It happened back in 2018. His burned remains were found on a burn pile about 100 yards from their home in Cherokee County, which is a rural area of Georgia. The son, Scott Farris, he discovered the remains. He initially thought the father maybe had a medical emergency, but then, of course, the medical examiner looks at the body. A bullet was found lodged in Gary's rib cage, indicating, of course, that he had been shot. So Melody Farris convicted on all charges, completely stoic. We saw Ashley Benefield yesterday. It's been a big week of sentencing. She was totally stoic at the sound of her verdict being read. Melody Farris is too. We're expecting this to start any moment, so we are going to keep on this. There were marital issues. Couple had been married for 38 years. You figure after 38 years, you kind of either work things out or you go your own way. But it appears that they had not worked it out or gone their own way until Melody had her way with her husband. They were living on separate floors, reportedly not sharing a bedroom for years. And Melody Farris was allegedly involved in a long-term extramarital affair with a man named Rusty Barton. They think there was a financial motive here. Prosecutors suggesting that Melody had $2 million to gain thanks to a life insurance policy. And evidence in the case, investigators found blood spots on the basement floor and steps of the home, as well as a spent bullet inside the house. So again, we are monitoring this sentencing that's set to start Melody Farris's day of judgment is here. She's going to find out that she is probably Mish Cavernos here, by the way. Shout out to Cape Town. Heard Joe Scott Morgan talking about how badly the body was burned. Horrific. Yeah, it is. Time you hear a burn pile murder, it's generally not going to be a good thing. The defense, of course, by the way, in this said, well, how could a slight woman of 130 pounds, how could she have moved her 300-pound husband onto the burn pile? She allegedly confessed to her lover, saying literally, quote unquote, he's on the burn pile. The trial lasted 18 days. The jury actually deliberated over a 3-day period, so there was a decent amount of deliberation involved here. So let's watch this together. It's going to be a few minutes before it gets started. You can throw questions at me. You can. It's a great question, Abby. I do not know the sentencing guidelines myself. I'm going to try to find that out. Glad you asked about that. A minimum sentence. Wow, it's a minimum sentence of life in prison. So looks like she's going to get sentenced to life in prison. I don't know if that's accurate, but that's what I'm reading here. So anyway, we are watching this. We are keeping tabs. You're looking at the seal of the great state of Georgia. Melody Farris, who was convicted of this crime about 4 or 5 weeks ago, beginning of November, I believe it was, now set to face sentencing. Again, if you have any questions for me, put them in the chat. I'll take a look at them. And once this gets cranking, I'll come back and we will watch together. What a crazy world we live in. Do you think they're going to find the UHC assassin today? Look at this from Melissa. They did not yet. There is an active manhunt underway. This is interesting. I wanted to cover this too. There's only so much you can cover. Daniel Penny is the Marine in New York City who subdued a subway rider who was badgering and harassing patients. He put him in a jiu-jitsu chokehold and left him there for about 6 minutes. He said he was just trying to keep him from bothering passengers, which is what a lot of eyewitnesses said. So that verdict, they've been deliberating. I think today will be day 4 of deliberations in the Daniel Penny case that's being tried in Manhattan, downtown from where the CEO murder happened. So it's always busy in New York City. But we'll keep tabs on the Daniel Penny verdict as well. If it comes down today, I'll let you know one way or the other. But again, we're waiting for the sentencing of Melody Farris, and we're continuing to monitor it here. This is the courtroom in the great state of Georgia. And Julie Frew letting us know that this Judge David L. Cannon Jr., is quite a talker. So be interesting. Okay. We will look at this. Mish absolutely convinced they're going to find this guy. They will track him down. I have no doubt about it. Although it's going to be a little bit tough, but they're going to get the job done. There you go. I'm going to mute myself for a little bit. We're here together. One big happy STS family. Thank you for always being here. We appreciate it. And again, we are going to be pivoting at 12:30 Eastern to the CEO targeted attack, the CEO of United Healthcare, a guy named Brian Thompson. By the way, he has 2 children, one out of high school, 2 sons, one in high school. and a wife named Paulette who's spoken out to the media. They are asking for their privacy. Twitter X is a brutal place. There's a lot of people writing a lot of really nasty things about the CEO because people have been denied health insurance. I get it. I get that people. This is certainly far from a perfect system here in the United States, and I say that you know. Um, it's kind of an understatement is what I'm trying to say. The healthcare system here is really screwy. For those of us to our north in Canada, you can just go to a doctor here. It's like a whole rigmarole, and people are denied coverage a lot of times. And it turns out United Healthcare Group has, I believe, the highest denial rate of any healthcare company in America. So this could have angered people, and that's maybe a motive for the murder in the case. But again, we're picking that up at 12:30 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. On the heels of this, there's a report out yesterday too that another healthcare company is thinking of not covering. Listen to this one: not covering anesthesia for surgery. How the hell can you have surgery if you don't have anesthesia? I mean, it's insane. It's a problem that's got to be dealt with. And I hope Congress or whoever needs to look into it looks into it. Anyway, Daisy here says 30 years for Melody is life, and we are going to continue. Yeah, this is Abby Crossing is right here. She's always on it. He wrote deny, defend, depose, I think on separate shell casings. But that's interesting. And Steve Cohen is trying to get a profiler for the 12:30 show. There is a good chance that we are going to be doing more than one show on that today. So like a 12:30 and then maybe a 6 or a 7 o'clock to kind of stay on top of that. Also, quick reminder now that I'm still talking, next week, Donna Sue Adelson, our original case, the matriarch of the Adelson family. Of course, her son, Charlie, was convicted in the murder of Dan Markel. She is heading back to a Tallahassee courtroom, and we're going to be doing shows on that next week. So stand by for that. I'm going to now stop talking for a couple of minutes. I never have coffee, but I got a coffee, which is always trouble for you guys because it makes me crazy. I have a couple of sips of that. Special shout out to Space Coast, where it is 6:13 on the West Coast. Interesting. Can't drag his sister out of bed, but yet Space Coast is an early riser. Go figure. He's here helping out, as are the great mods. And the COE is she's hanging. She's having her own little morning time. So that's it. He was shot, I believe. I know he was hit. Someone's asking, was he shot 3 times? I'm not sure if 3 bullets hit him. I know he was shot in the back and in the calf, and obviously it was a shot to the back that had him succumb to his injuries. So there you go. I'm gonna look into some of this stuff right now as we're waiting. We are waiting for the Melody Farris hearing. You are looking at a live shot of the Atlanta, Georgia courtroom, and I just saw a head pop over there, and a head. You can see the top of someone's head there. So we could be getting close, and I'll be back momentarily. Just a little bit of news related to the Daniel Penny case. Of course, they're waiting. Again, he's the Marine who put a guy named Jordan Neely in a chokehold, and he ultimately died. Well, now the father, Jordan Neely's father, is suing Daniel Penny over his son's chokehold. The suit, a civil suit, obviously, was filed in New York Supreme Court on Wednesday, and it accuses the Long Island Marine veteran of negligent contact, assault, and battery, which is what they say caused his death last year. Um, Neely's father, his name is Andre Zachary, quote unquote, demands judgment awaiting damages in a sum which exceeds the jurisdictional limits of all lower courts, which would otherwise have jurisdiction, according to the lawsuit. Again, it was filed just this past Wednesday evening. Great question, Lindsay. Right now, there's no audio from the courtroom. COE and I were just speaking, and look at this. I love seeing people from all over the country. Two back to back from Newfoundland. You've got Julia and then Patricia, both from Newfoundland, uh, Canada. I love that. Hopefully you guys are hearing me. This is a live shot, a shaky live shot of the state of Georgia's seal as we're awaiting Melody Farris's sentencing. And again, 12:30 p.m. Eastern time, we are back on the targeted attack of the healthcare CEO in New York City. Newfoundland. I always thought it was Newfoundland, but Newfoundland. I mean, that's how it's spelled, Barcelona. But in America, I've only heard it pronounced Newfoundland. So that's interesting. Newfoundland. And I've always thought it was weird because it's spelled like Newfoundland, but I was always told the pronunciation was Newfoundland. Who knew? But they're here. So is Wales. Living Solo's mother was from Newfoundland. There you go. People are hearing me. Look at this. Correction, Newfoundland. Wow. This is a shocking development for me. My whole life, I thought it would be pronounced Newfoundland because that's how it's spelled, but people always told me it was Newfoundland, but it is Newfoundland. Amazing. Chile in the house. Wasaga Beach, Ontario, Canada. I have a feeling you need a jacket on that beach today. Finland has nothing to do with Newfoundland. This is true. Newfoundland dogs are awesome. Cotswolds, UK sounds like a Harry Potter town, but welcome. Mimi is flying the British flag, it looks like, at her office. Love that. Look at this. What a global audience. Ireland, the Republic of Ireland. Where's Black Widow when you need her? Look at this. Lindsay just got in from Banff, traveling with her boss. Norway. I mean, this is crazy. We are truly a global show. Iceland. I'd like to get to Iceland, actually. Someone else is saying Newfoundland. 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 Now I can't remember how I was pronouncing it 5 minutes ago. Newfoundland is how I was pronouncing it. Spain is in the house. Hawaii is in the house. Look at this. Saudi Arabia is in the house. Nova Scotia. Is anyone from America here? I love the fact that we've got a global audience. Screw America. I love the global audience. Indiana. That is America. Cape Breton, Canada, unless it's pronounced Breton or Breton. Whatever happened to the United Colors of Benetton? That used to be a big thing, the United Colors of Benetton. And look, this person is saying how I say Newfoundland. Finland. Perhaps the most important state in the Union, New Jersey. Leo Wren says it's back to Newfoundland. It's where you place the accent and how quickly you say it. I will defer to however Anna Lee here says I pronounce it Newfoundland. Interesting. But whatever the Finlanders say is what I will say from now on. Switzerland, which is where my grandmother lived, for those who do not know, a place called Lausanne, Switzerland. That's where Carm's mom moved after the war. It was like living in a postcard. Across Lake Genève, there was Evian water. If you ever heard of Evian, perhaps, there's a little like spigot across the lake, and you can go and put your bottle up to it. And ironically, when we were there was an old man filling up Perrier bottles. I'll never forget that. I have a photo somewhere. He was filling up Perrier bottles with Evian water. Thailand is in the house. This is unbelievable. Joel, you're putting the accent on the second syllable. It is new. It is new versus Newfoundland. It is new Finland versus Newfoundland. Okay. Carmela chiming in here, the matriarch of the show. Carm will mispronounce it in any particular language. We've got Carm, we've got Chile, we've got Saudi Arabia, we have Newfoundland, Canada, British Columbia. Is this California? We've got Oklahoma. We've got a gazillion other places. Denmark. We've got Switzerland, Carm, Portugal, Glasgow. We've got Stevens Point, Wisconsin. We have Mexico. We have Scotland, Newfoundland. Carm, how do you pronounce Newfoundland, Carm? Thailand is here. Belgium is here. It's unbelievable. Carm, what do you think of the fact that we are truly a global show? Iceland. Carm, have you ever been to Reykjavik? Reykjavik. Now I can't pronounce anything. Things that I used to be able to pronounce. Philly's in the house. Crazy. Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, where you probably need a little windbreaker on that beach. Oh, I'm sorry. That makes sense, Vesper. It's early and I'm not a morning person. My brain doesn't work. I was wondering what that was all about. Thank you. Switzerland is the most beautiful place I've ever visited. It does. It looks like a postcard. Carm likes to fight with the Swiss, though. She says that they're too stoic for her, so she likes to rile them up. The Jersey Channel Islands. It's a place I'd like to visit. Wow, it's amazing how long this goes on for. Edinburgh, Scotland. So why is Edinburgh, Scotland pronounced Edinburgh if it is Edinburgh? Pronunciations are weird things. Carm, we love you. Evian stands for naive. I guess if you spell it backwards, that is true. CA is also Canada. The Netherlands is in the house. I'm amazed by this. Spain, Manitoba. Carm, I would like to know what you think of the fact that your son has a global show now, Carm. This is a global show. This isn't a local yokel show like Good Morning America. It's a 2-bit show like Good Morning America. Sit there and talk about the latest gadgets with your refrigerator all morning for 3 hours, and they pay the anchors $40 million a year. It ain't like that show. This is a global show with substance. Is this sentencing going to ever start? Michigan is in the house. One of my best friends is a meteorologist in Tucson, Arizona, and he despises hot weather. In Tucson, the weather is the same 363 days of the year. All he wants to do is work in northern Michigan or Duluth, Minnesota, where it is cold. It's one of the weirder obsessions I've ever heard because I don't like the cold, but He would much prefer to live in Duluth, where he once worked, than Tucson, Arizona, where it's nice 363 days a year. What is Fred up to? Great question. Appreciate the question, Ned. Fred is burrowing. He is halfway to China right now. He likes to dig into the ground. He thinks that there is gold there, I guess. Hopefully he finds it. Glasgow is pronounced Glasgow. Fred is in the shoe. The COE's home and leaves him in the shoe, Ned. It's sad, actually. I would bring him here, but my fear is he eats my wires. But I'll start to bring him here. What is the STS email address? It is survivingthesurvivor@gmail. Survivingthesurvivor@gmail. Look at this. Susan Firefly here. The U.S. pronunciation, Newfoundland. And that's how I've been saying it my whole life, Newfoundland. More, I say it more like with an FIN. By the way, what is like an upside down E supposed to represent? I don't know. South Africa's in the house. I was actually going to be reading up on the New York City story while we were waiting. Look at this. Right as I say that, let's talk about Brian Thompson. We should get Carm on that 12:30 show. Croatia is in the house. Croatia is in the house. Baghdad, Iraq. Wow. That's fascinating. I wonder if that is an Iraqi or an American. Let us know somewhere in Baghdad. I'd be curious to know that. Oh, look at this. Carm is very worldly. She's been to Iceland. She said it was a stopover to Europe. Back when Carm was flying in the early days, it was like a lawnmower. You had to pull the string to get the propeller going, and so they had to stop in Iceland. You see the bailiffs here? Looks like court is about to start. Still no audio.
Thank you.
Whatever.
Everyone.
Okay, I'll go back to my office.
Melody Farris. Here we go.
Y'all need me to wait about 2 minutes?
About court seal, Judge, and we'll let
All
you
right.
know. if
No problem.
that's- Thank you.
I'm trying to catch up.
Oh,
It's too fast.
The judge is like, I'm out of here. Judge is taking off.
Cooper's cute, baby. Cooper's cute, baby. C-section baby's cute, baby. Cooper's a real cute baby. My kids look like Asians. What's up, man? Good to see you, buddy. We'll probably see. Well, I didn't see you basketball last night. My kid was sick, so.
My kids are in the country.
Okay. And then what kind of cabaret? Oh, that's cool.
Fundraiser.
There are two, but we're doing them
Yeah, that's cool.
on 23
I like that.
Every shows. Like shows.
Otherwise.
I like that.
No.
Yeah, we're good. Like in typical microwave fashion, you'd expect him to have a very calm style, and he does. My boys are like, wow. Wow, this is fun.
Yes. I need you.
COE, I just sent you something for the 12:30 show.
Got it.
Also, there should be new and different video and stills. Hello, everyone, and things of that nature. So just take a look. New York Post is a good place to start. You're doing great, COA. You're doing great. Doing fantastic. Coffee makes me crazy. I'm going to be passed out with my tongue hanging out like Ethel in about 20 minutes. My heart palpitations are kicking in now. Well, look at this. It wasn't me, but Jennifer Hardy. She says she has her book on her Christmas list. I love to hear that. That warms my heart. And by the way, starting Monday for just 3 weeks, the ebook of Surviving the Survivor will be $1.99 just for 3 weeks. They do that before the holidays. So again, that's for the Kindle. It'll be $1.99. But the Audible, I highly recommend because you get to hear Carm speaking in her own words. It's also a cleaner version because Carm refused to curse the way she did when I recorded her in the actual book. So the Audible is a little cleaner than the actual real book. Trust Us Canadians, Minnesota -2. Wow. I just don't know how people do that every day. It is Newfoundland. Newfoundland. That is how I'm pronouncing it from now on for the rest of my life. 47 degrees in Los Angeles. As I like to say, Los Angeles has the worst weather in the country. It's either too hot or too cold. And it can be 90 in the valley and you drive 3 miles and it's like 58 degrees. Worst weather in the country. And San Diego is actually worse. So my advice to anyone in LA, San Diego, leave. The weather is horrible there. Unpredictable. Well, predictably bad. Ned Smith loves the Audible. So there you go. COE, if you want to put up a link to the book, now would be as good a time as any. Thoughts and prayers are with Space Coast for the weather. Yes. And look, Abby Crossing is from California. She knows the horrors of the weather in Los Angeles. 1 minute it is 90. The next minute it's 57. You're in Encino, it's 90 degrees. You go to Santa Monica and it is 37 and snowing within 20 minutes. And you go the other way to the mountains and it's 27 and snowing. Asta here. It's 33 degrees here. You can hardly walk outdoors. Put my cleats on. Where are you, Asta? Is she in a Belgium area? I don't know. Her last name is looking very Belgian-ish to me. Or I Icelandic or one of those. Thank you, Margaret. We love you. You love us. We love you. Anyone who loves us, we love them back. If you hate us, we hate you back. Look at this. Joel, you and the COE rock. COE and I almost brawled last night. It's what happens when you work on a show together. Taking another sip of coffee. It's been we love doing this. We really do. But it is it's easier than it looks. Let's put it that way. There's a lot that goes into putting these shows together, a lot. And sometimes it causes the COE and I to turn our living room into an octagon. And the kids root for whoever they're rooting for at that particular day. But sometimes we do convert the living room to an octagon where we handle things the old-fashioned way when we're getting on each other's nerves, even though we never get on each other's nerves. Yeah, look at this. See, this is what I'm talking about. Space Coast says 47 degrees, walking Bowser, his dog. 20 minutes from now, it's going to be 70 degrees. So you get sick. 68 in Tamarack, which is Florida, just west of here. Trust me, I have the heat on in my car. It's at 77. I cannot. Thank you, Ned. I can't take the cold weather. Asta letting us know that she is in fact from Iceland. The coffee is giving me a headache. Carm says I hurt the feelings of people in Los Angeles, which she misspelled, but that's okay. America's a great country. This is Mary N from Serbia, Carm. She is Serbian. This is so true, Space Coast. Your sister is excellent at this one, too. Silent treatment. It's a mental brawl for men. Yeah. Look at Lynn. Look at this. Lynn, you look so tan for being from Indiana. But maybe you make your way down to Florida. When you're here, you let us know. Like I said, anyone who loves our channel, we love them back. If you hate our channel, we hate you more than you hate us. What does this mean? It's Joel's naked shirt. It's a pink shirt. Real men wear pink. Look at this. That's exactly my point, what I'm trying to say. Temecula. It's the home of former UFC fighter Dan Henderson. He had one of the hardest right-hand punches ever. They called it the H-bomb, his right hand. He lives in Temecula, where it is now 39 degrees. It will be 76 degrees later. Jane, let me know if you know Dan Henderson. He pops his teeth in and out, having been in many fights. His teeth come in and out. One of the toughest, kind of coolest all-American dudes you'll ever see. Joel, don't air your dirty laundry. Wouldn't your mother? Here's the judge. He's back. Well, thank you, April the 1st. An audio file regarding Newfoundland. People take these things seriously, and so do I. It is 32 in Norway. Glad the hearing started right on time at 9. It's now 9:47. 17 in Topeka, Kansas. Arizona, 24 degrees. Arizona is another weird place, by the way. I do not miss the snow, not even a little bit. I went to Montreal last winter, and it was nice. It was fun, and I enjoyed it. But if I never step foot on snow again, I'll be fine. Look at this. I am Icelandic. My father's name was Bjorn, so I'm Bjorn's daughter. Oh, look at that. Daughter of Bjorn. That's Bjorn means bear. Bjorn Borg, one of my favorite all-time tennis players. I loved him and John McEnroe together. I was a little more partial to John McEnroe. Yes, we're doing Dixie. I'm glad you asked. That is a scary photo in light of the subject matter in your question, but yes, here's Melody Farris. We are doing the CEO at 12:30. Let's listen in now that Melody Farris has entered the building.
All right, we ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor. We are here on the state of Georgia versus Melody Farris in 23 CR 0715. This defendant was convicted on November 4th, 2024 of 5 counts. Count 1, malice murder. Count 2, felony murder. Count 3, aggravated assault. Count 4, concealing the death of another. And count 5, making false statements. We're here for sentencing on those 5 counts, which a jury convicted her and found her guilty for. In regards to the sentencing, Judge, both the defense and I agree that under 1617, the court is going to sentence on count 1. Count 2 will be vacated by.
Real quick, I'm just getting a report that the United Healthcare CEO and his wife were living apart for many years. We did not know that yesterday. An interesting sort of development.
Range for count 5 is 1 to 5 under 161020.
All right, Mr. Weaver, Mr. Ray, y'all in agreement with that?
Yes, Judge.
All right. All right, you have evidence you want to present?
I have one exhibit to present, and then I have 2 exhibits to present, and then the family has a few impact statements.
All right.
Possibly just one that they would like me to read into the record, which I have already shown the defense.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
State's Exhibit 1 is a video of Melody Farris with his granddaughter, Olivia.
That dress in the mouth somewhere.
Squirming. You used to squirm, girl. Aren't you?
At that point, she wants to flip
You
over
used
on
to
her
squirm,
belly.
girl. That's how you is. You used to squirm, girl. You don't stand up for me. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know.
She doesn't talk to
It's been a
him.
rough day.
Who was the child?
Olivia, his granddaughter, Emily Payne's daughter.
Right. Okay.
And that was from May of 2018. And then, Judge, this is just a photo, State's Exhibit 2, that we'd like to put into evidence as well.
All right.
And at this time, I'm going to read into the record a statement written by Emily Payne on behalf of the family. Your Honor, since our father was taken from us, our lives have been filled with an unbearable void. Every day feels like a constant reminder of what we have lost. Gary was a father, grandfather, brother, uncle, friend, and colleague to many. We miss his laughter, his warmth, and his presence in our lives. It's a pain that will never go away. Gary was not just our beloved father, but our confidant and our rock. Now we are left to navigate life without his guidance and support. Every milestone, every happy moment is tainted by the thought that he will not be here to share it with us. There will be no more birthday parties, backyard gatherings, holiday celebrations, or other family activities to share together. Those opportunities to say I love you are forever gone. Our family is forever broken from this tragedy. This loss is only made worse by the betrayal of trust we feel for our mother. To know that the person who caused the suffering to our family was someone we relied on the most is a wound that may never heal. Our children are now growing up without their big daddy and grandma. The impact on their young lives is devastating. They ask questions we cannot answer, and we often find ourselves lost for words when they ask why they don't have a grandmother or grandfather. We ask this court to consider the gravity of this crime, the devastating impact it has had on our family, and to ensure that justice is served. No sentence can ever bring our father back, but a just punishment can offer a semblance of closure and prevent another family from experiencing this unimaginable pain. Your Honor, that's all of the statements and evidence the state has. I just have closing.
All right. What do we need? We need to do something with the other indictment.
Yes, Judge, I will be submitting an all
Okay.
that day.
All right.
I've informed the defense of that.
Okay. You can do that after sentencing, that's fine.
Yes, Judge.
All right. Mr. Weaver, Mr. Ray?
Judge, we have two witnesses, or actually, we have one, he's prepared a statement, we were just gonna call him and let him read the statement.
All right, that's fine.
Fifth call, Mr. Dave Thomas.
Where do you want him, Judge?
He can just come up to the lectern's fine. All right, go ahead. No, swear, man.
You sworn to affirm any testimony that you give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, put your hand down. Can you judge this for record purposes? Can you state your name?
David Thomas.
Okay, and have you prepared a statement to read to the court for purposes of sentencing?
I have.
Okay.
All right, go ahead.
Your Honor, may I address the court and say a few things to you and the family?
All right.
First, I'd like to address the Farris family. I want each and every one of you to know how sorry I am for the loss of your dad, your brother, and Melody, for your husband, Gary. I understand what it's like to lose both parents. I buried both of mine in the pouring down rain in 29-degree weather on a Christmas Eve not too long ago. So I understand all the questions about death and why. Yours is even more complicated as to who and why. You are all in my prayers and in my thoughts as these years have gone by. No amount of money can ever replace a parent, a spouse, or brother, and no amount of money is ever worth anybody's life. Second, Melody, I am your friend. And I will stand up for you today because in the 8 months, 6 years ago that I came to know you, I witnessed what a true friend could be to another friend of ours who was fighting for his life, as he still is today. I saw what your heart was made of in spite of your own circumstances and problems, and that you wanted to help, not to hurt, but to help. I saw the kindness you showed myself along with other people around you. I know your story always remained the same and it never changed. And in my heart of hearts, I believe in your innocence. For I would not be here today along with our friend in spirit, Alan, who is fighting this horrible disease called cancer as we speak. Third, Your Honor, this is my friend Melody. Melody Walker Farris, whom I come before you today on her behalf as a friend to ask you for mercy. I ask you for grace. I ask you for leniency upon your decision of her sentencing. Gary's death was a horrible tragedy, and there is no excuse for murder on any level. But to convict someone and sentence them for life is even more of a tragedy in itself, especially if it is the wrong person, and especially if all of the evidence was not able to be presented to the jury as a complete investigation should have been brought forth. There were a lot of holes in this case, and a lot of unanswered questions. I don't know who's responsible for Gary's death. I know the jury did the best they could with the information that they had to work with, Your Honor. But there were doubts, and there still are for many of us in this case today. I don't know who will have to live with that burden for the rest of their lives, but in coming to know Melody, I cannot believe she is the one responsible for her husband's death. And if
Judge, I'm going to object. He cannot impeach the verdict. That's improper statement. He can talk about it affects him and the family, but he cannot impeach the verdict.
I'm gonna let him go ahead.
If I gave you a roadmap and tore it in half and expected you to reach a decision in this case without all of the information, that would not be fair to anyone, including Gary, if the wrong person was convicted. Thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you. Anyone got any questions?
No.
All right.
But we just have one more. If the court will recall, there was a gentleman that sat behind Ms. Farris during the entirety of the trial. That is Mr. Alan Wilson. Who's suffering from cancer, as you know, what you're referring to. He's unable to be here due to his sickness.
Okay.
So he's very safe.
All right.
I
Y'all.
see it.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Go ahead.
Judge, it'll take me a second because I got to zoom in. Mr. Alan Wilson writes, I've been Melody Walker Farris's friend for the past 30 years. I helped to build her and Gary's house at Hampton Hall, and that's where our friendship began. I have watched her children grow up over the years and become adults. Melody has always been an incredible friend to me. Melody always went the extra mile to make sure that I was okay in my life, even at times when things were not good in hers. I appreciate her more than you know, especially 6 years ago when I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. It took everything she had to help my friend Dave throw a surprise Christmas gathering for me, but she did, even when her world was falling apart. We have done things over the years like dinner, social events, just plain hanging out, as Melody would give you the shirt off her back. She always loved her children, no matter what. She loved Gary from the beginning and stuck with him over the years, stating and trying to raise their 4 children as a mother should. She was there for Gary when he was sick. She was there for her children when they needed her. And next one. And she was there for all of us.
Judge, I believe we just will have some argument as to sentence, but Ms. Farris wanted to address the court whenever it's appropriate.
I'll generally let her go last, so long as she doesn't talk about the facts of the case. So y'all can go ahead and present.
I'm going to reserve that, yes.
All right, go ahead.
Judge, just has the argument. We've already addressed the murder issue. We agree with that. Aggravated assault should merge into the malice murder count based on the way that the indictment reads. So the court will only be sentencing on count 1, count 4, as well as count 5. The court knows you can sentence her to a minimum of life as to count 1, or a maximum of life without the possibility of parole. The court can also run consecutive to either one of those sentences, maximum of 15 years. We will be asking the court to ask count 1, sentence Ms. Farris to life with the possibility of parole. Ask to count 4, 10 years concurrent, and ask to count 5, 5 years concurrent, both to count 1. Looking at the Department of Corrections inmate population, which apparently is readily available online, you can see that once a person gets over the age of 65, their presence in the prison system dwindles dramatically. Melody is currently 63 years old. Any sentence really that this court gives, if it gives her life with the possibility of parole, with the current restrictions on parole eligibility being at 30 years for this sentence, is essentially a death sentence for Ms. Farris. Before even being eligible and not guaranteed parole after 30 years, that would make her 93 years old.
before she's eligible for parole. And looking at the female population of the current Department of Corrections, there are currently, her age, only 11 females currently in custody in the state of Georgia. If you go 10 years from that, you get to 74, there is one, and there are no females older than 74 currently housed within the Department of Corrections. Based on that, Judge, and the facts of the case as the court heard them, there was a reason for this to be a trial and to be such a long trial. I think that there was some doubt, especially with the jury stating that at one point they weren't hung and then coming back with a verdict. And we respect the jury's verdict, although we do not agree with it. So for those reasons, her age, her lack of criminal history, which the court has heard hundreds of times during all the bond hearings and that we had over the years, of which she had no history, that the appropriate sentence in this case would be the court sentence her to life on count 1, with counts 4 and 5, 5 and 10 to run concurrent. At least that will give her some possibility of being parole eligible at some point in the future.
All right.
Judge, a jury has already convicted Melody Farris of all of the crimes in this indictment. They did not find doubt in this case. They did not see the holes. They saw the picture as clearly as Mr. Fogus, Sergeant Hayes, and I did, and the family. I want to start by talking about the aggravation in this case. I think it's pretty clear the jury convicted her of concealment. And within that concealment, the facts were that she burned his body to 33 pounds of a 300-pound man. And the facts in this case also made it clear that she wanted him found. She watched Amanda and Scott both walk by the burn pile. Amanda even tossed something in there, waiting for someone to find his remains because she is not stupid. She knew a body needed to be found. So she pointed out to Scott, strategically, her child. She made her children find this body. Their father burned up in a burn pile. The granddaughters were on the property looking for him. The fact that she used the children and Lake Lanier as an attempted alibi, it's deplorable. When you think about her statements to Rusty Barton, when she states that body should not have been burned up, she wanted her children to find their father. I say all this to say that the way Gary Farris was rolled out after being shot by his wife of 38 years to a burn pile on his own property, disposed of like trash, when he had just been blessed with a third granddaughter 6 months before, and now he will never meet the future grandchildren. He was robbed of a life as a grandfather, a father to his adult children to help them navigate the difficulties of life. That was supposed to be his best stage of life. Being a grandparent. And Judge, I just want to point out under 171030, which does not apply to this case, but a defendant has a depravity of mind who mutilates or seriously disfigures a victim's body after death may have been found to have a depraved mind. That's clear in this case. Melody Farris has a depraved mind. That's aggravation. And then throughout the investigation and the trial, continues to blame her children for this death, for this murder of their father and the grandfather of their grandchildren. She tainted and tarnished her children's relationships, not only with each other, but tried to drag their relationships with their father through the mud when they had nothing but love and respect for him. She successfully divided her family, isolating Amanda, and it's all for her own selfish motive. All of this. The motive evidence in this case was overwhelming. Blaming her own sons for a murder she committed is unthinkable as a mom and just as human. This sentence should not reflect the defendant where she is in life because she chose to commit this crime at that time. She chose to commit this crime 6 months after Olivia was born. But it should reflect the life that was lost and the way it was lost, the manner in which it was lost. At her hands, with her depraved heart and mind. Gary was a brilliant lawyer, a forgiving man, and a beloved father and grandfather. The sentence should reflect what this family and what the world has lost. And that deserves a sentence of imprisonment of life without the possibility of parole. Thank you, Judge.
All right, Ms. Farris, if you have a statement.
I do.
All right.
I've written this so that I could get the words.
Okay.
On July the 5th, 2018, 6 years, 5 months ago today, began the worst nightmare that I could have ever imagined. Not only my world, but my family's world was absolutely destroyed at the hands of one person. I have had 6+ years of being told not to talk. Don't say that. Take legal advice. I could walk out of this courtroom today and drop over dead. I want to make sure that my children, my grandchildren, and Gary's family, and to be honest, at this point in time, the entire world who has viewed this. I have waited for years to make this statement to everyone. I want the world to know who did this. I have always heard that the courtroom is the last place you're going to get the truth. And has that ever been proven to be the truth in this case? Not only did I not do this, I know who did. I know Scott killed his father. He took my husband, the father of Chris, Emily, and Amanda. He took Big Daddy from our grandchildren, Ella, Addison, Olivia, Jax, and James. 3 of them who never got to know Gary. Scott, this is unforgivable. Scott has spent an entire life of loving and protecting you, but this I refuse to cover for you. My mother, your mom, begged me to take the blame for this. She said after she talked to you, after Gary died, that she knew you had done it. Her exact words were, "You are his mother. You have to take blame for this." And I told her no, that I couldn't. I still have 3 other children, grandchildren, and this is not a stolen credit card, a check, or a diamond ring that you've pawned, all of which you have done. I saw you coming from that burn pile the morning of July the 5th in your truck. You told me that you were checking on the fire to make sure that it wasn't going to get the woods on fire. You told me it was okay. I asked you a few weeks later, why you were at that burn pile in your truck. And you told me that your dad had told you to clean up the extra wood that was by the barn. I told Hayes that I had seen Scott that morning coming from the burn pile. So Hayes, where is that recording? I want to know. You told me there was multiple recorders. You did, but you sat here in this courtroom and you told this court that you didn't tell anybody about recorders, but you did. Where is that recording in the interview? You, Scott, immediately started saying that there was a gun missing, a gun that nobody knew about. You never mentioned before. I asked you more days than not where your dad was, and this was the first time you ever had that response. There's a gun missing. You should have you did start immediately spinning your story. When you found out that Addison and Cameron were there the night before, you got so angry. Now I know why. When I went to feed the baby goat the morning
Hold on.
that,
Your Honor, I'm going to object at this point. It's all about facts of the case. You, in fact, stated your statement needs to not be about facts.
Right. Well, Ms. Farris, really not supposed to go into the evidence of this phase of the case. And what I typically do is if the defendant wants to go into the facts of the case, I'm going to allow the state to cross-examine or ask questions, which I don't really anticipate you want to do.
I would just ask to
But
close, Judge.
your statements needs to be constrained to the punishment, and if there's things you want to talk about in relation to that and how I should sentence you, I don't have a problem if you want to continue to profess your innocence, but we're not going to go on for a significant period of time. You resuscitate your view of the case and your opinion as to what the evidence is without your prior testimony and without the state being able to cross-examine it. It's not proper. So I'm going to ask you to restrain your remarks to comply with those directions.
Judge, this needs to be known.
Well,
I'll just ask to respond, Judge.
all right. All right, go ahead.
I went to feed the baby goat the morning of July the 5th before I left for the lake. I saw where you had washed out the barn. I later found that several bottles of house wash were missing after this all happened several weeks ago. Now I know why. The photos of your bathroom spotlessly clean. Now I know why. I know why you demanded me to move the tractor that you so were upset about it being in the place. Now I know why. Scott, you called me on July the 4th and asked me what my plans were for the day. And I told you I was going to the lake with Amanda, and you were so glad that I was going. I thought it odd then. Now I know why. I found copies of my birth certificate, your dad's birth certificate, our marriage license in your truck. Now I know why. Scott, I saw Gary going to that barn the night of July the 3rd, right after you got home. And then Scott is going, and I thought then Scott's going to be in trouble for staying at the lake and playing golf all the time. Never in a million years did I ever think that this nightmare was starting then. I told you, Detective Hayes, that I saw Scott going over there to the barn. Where is that in the recording? A bag. I know exactly where and when I was standing. Scott, you put antifreeze under my kitchen sink to set me up for this. That only you would have known where it was because it was for the Mercedes. When Amanda and I were putting that house back together, you sat in there and watched us like a hawk. Now I know why. You became so angry when the fire investigator came in July, weeks after this nightmare started. Now I know why you were so angry. Scott, you failed your polygraph test. You recorded meetings at the attorney's office and turned them over to the DA's office. We hired Manny to help us. Emily is the one who used her daddy's credit card to pay for that attorney. Scott, you got so angry that your sister Amanda was getting my personal clothes and my personal things to the point that Cherokee County had to be called. That is not the actions of the same person. Scott's anger issues have all been a huge issue. When he was in kindergarten and elementary school, Chris would.
I'm objecting. At this point, she's dragging Scott through the mud and he's scared. This is not.
All right, Ms. Farris, I'm going to cut you off if you keep just wanting to resuscitate facts that aren't before the court. And Ms. Frankish, I'll give you a chance to respond to the extent that you want to and give you closing statement.
I am the mother that was always there for my children, even though they had done things that were wrong. Chris, who took care of your girls and loved them if they were my own, who came and got them off the street when you were acting an absolute fool because they were scared to death, who drove down to Buckhead and got your children.
Now, I will tell you, okay, so just to kind of give you some direction. Things that are appropriate, you helping take care of your family, raise your family, those kind of things, what you've done throughout your life, and asking the court to exert some sort of mercy on you, things of that nature are appropriate. So you can talk about those kind of things, but let's don't go into the individual facts or things that haven't been previously presented to the court. Okay? All right, go ahead.
I love Ella and Addison more than life itself. And it was their life or mine. It would be mine in a heartbeat. Emily, who helped you move to and from an apartment and a house in 19-degree weather, even though I knew that you were trying to keep it from me. I was always there for you. I came back to you in Thompson Station after your husband was arrested to care for you and Olivia. I am so sorry that your children will never know their big daddy. Amanda and Chad, words cannot express my gratitude for everything that you've done for me. Thank you so very much. And I was fortunate enough to get to care for James every day since he was 3 weeks old. He is my pride and joy. Love for that little boy is unbelievable. I spent 18 plus months in the Cherokee County Jail over something that I did not do. The last thing, I thought that was the last thing I could do to Gary, for him, to get justice for him. I can remember thinking, it's okay that I sit here. I just want answers. That's all I want. And I still haven't gotten them. And I don't think that I ever will. And that scares me to death. Amanda was the only one of my children that got up here and told the truth. And I thank her for that every day. Judge Cannon, I had so many questions, so many whys? Why were so many things not their task? Why was the barn never checked? I think that would have given us so many answers. Why did they run out of Blue Star? They were on my property for days. I beg of you to get answers. Judge Cannon, I am begging for justice for Gary, for my children, for my grandchildren, for Gary's family. And I am begging that you throw out this verdict. Be the 13th juror. Help us get justice. I did not do this. I promise you on my life, the 18 months that I did in Cherokee County was nothing compared to the last month that I spent in there. Now I know that Cherokee County did not do their job in the investigation. They took Scott's story and ran with it. I know that in my heart, body, and soul, who did this, and I'm begging for help. I'm begging you, Judge Cannon. Please do not send me to prison for something I didn't do. I did not do this. If I had done this, I would take this charge gladly. If it would bring Gary back, I would gladly go to prison. I do not want to wait years for an appeal. I've waited 6 years and 5 months for justice already, but here we are. Maybe I should have testified, but I listened to legal counsel. I wanted the truth out there, and this is why I am making this statement. I will talk to any and everyone who can help me and my family. I never wanted my family's life to be played out for the world to see. It is a mother's job to protect her children, and I cannot protect the person who did this. We can't replace Gary. That is unforgivable. I promise you to work hand in hand with the DA's office. But what scares me the most is that because of several individuals, so many others in this county that did not do their job, justice will never be done. For the last 6 years and 5 months, my every thought has been consumed with this. No matter what I do, it never leaves. And until you have lived this, nobody can understand. And I would not wish this on anybody. When I heard of the mother of the boy at the Appalachia school shooting, she called to tell that her own son was going to the school with a gun. My heart broke for her. This is a mother's worst nightmare. Judge Cannon, I beg of you for help. As one parent to another, help me get justice for Gary and my family. A mother, or at least not this mother, does not blame her child unless she knows he did it. Not thinks, knows. And I would never sit here and let the attorneys lay blame to him if I didn't know. You have no idea how heart-wrenching, gut-wrenching this is. John Luke says that I'm the most stoic person he's ever met. My response was, you never know how strong you are until that's your only choice. So before it's said that the only reason I'm telling you this is because I got a guilty verdict, it's not. If it had come back as not guilty, I would have still been begging for justice, for help getting the right person convicted. As soon as I walked out of the courtroom, I promise you I would have done that. Chris, Emily, Amanda, Ella, Addison, Olivia, Jack, and James, I am doing this for you. Gary is gone, and trust me. When I say that he is in a better place, because this has been the worst nightmare. It's been hell on earth. Knowing that your own son did this. And it's only been by the grace of God that I have survived this last 6 years and 5 months. If I could, I would gladly trade places with Gary. Judge Cannon, I am begging you for help. Please do this for Gary and my family. I have missed years with the people that I love dearly. Help me restore my family. Be the person in Cherokee County that it is their task. I do not want years. I do not want to wait years for justice, years that I may not have. I know this is something that you may never have seen before. And I plead with you to roll this verdict out. Help me get justice for the correct person. As bad as it sounds, I want to be there to watch him chained and shackled and brought to justice. I plead with you. This is something that I will never recover from. I don't know that my family will ever recover from. Please help me. I'm begging you to restore my faith in the judicial system. I'm begging you, not for me, but for Gary and my children, and my grandchildren.
All right, Ms. Frankish, you want to respond to anything?
Very briefly, Judge. When the attorneys had the opportunity to give jurors, Your Honor was, I believe, present for that. For Scott's sake, they ruled him out in the very beginning of deliberations. Statement, I ask that you take note of its inconsistencies with the evidence, respect the jury's verdict, which I know you will do, but that the verdict is spoken. And we ask, in addition to what we previously asked, Judge, as a condition that she never profit from this story, from this crime, I just ask that you include that into her sentence.
All right. All right, as we've indicated, jury have returned a verdict of guilty to all counts. Count 1, the malice murder, being the primary charge. Count 2 would be vacated as a matter of law based upon the conviction in count 1. Count 3, aggravated assault, would merge into the malice murder. I don't, without going into a lot of detail or my thoughts on it, jury's made a determination that Ms. Farris was responsible for her husband's death, and she was found guilty of all charges. I don't have much latitude in sentencing. The legislature has spoken, and the penalty for murder is life. The only determination I have is whether it would be with parole or without parole. I don't believe this is a case that justifies a life without parole sentence, so I'm going to sentence to life with parole, or life with the possibility of parole. I don't have any control over parole. That's up to the parole board. Under the current guidelines and sentencing structure with them, a life sentence is a minimum 30 years before you would be considered for parole at this point. I recognize that that is likely a life sentence for you, but you'll have the hope and possibility of parole. As to count 4, which has a maximum of 10 years, I'm not, as I said, I wasn't going to sentence life without parole. However, I do feel like there's some additional consideration that needs to be taken as to count 4, the concealing the death of another. Presumably, the point of that was, so you were found guilty of discarding and burning body of Gary Wayne Farris, hindering discovery of whether the person was unlawfully killed. That definitely hindered the investigation and shows additional level of criminal intent. I'm going to sentence to 5 years consecutive on the life sentence as to count 4, concealing the death of another. The false statements, that being the lying to law enforcement about the relationship with Mr. Barton. I believe if law enforcement didn't know about it at the time, they knew about it shortly thereafter. It was well known. Didn't take a lot of effort to make that determination. I don't really find that that's anything additional that needs additional punishment. So I'll run the 5 years concurrent as to count 5. So that will be a life plus 5 with the possibility of parole. And that'll be the sentence.
Count 4.
Hmm?
Count 5 would be concurrent with count 4.
Count 5 would be concurrent with count 4 and the other counts. She'd be eligible for the credit for the time that she's served in the Cherokee County Jail, subject to the jailer's affidavit from the sheriff's office. To the extent that that gives her credit for her sentence, she would receive that. With it being a life sentence and her being in control of Department of Corrections, are there anything that you want me to put as a condition of her sentence?
No contact with family judge.
All right.
And not profiting from her conviction.
I will provision that she may not have direct communication with, well, I mean, she may have some of the family that wants to reach out to her. So what I would say is she's not to have any contact with family members. I don't know who they would even notify other than the prison. So any members of the family that want to have contact with you may contact you. They'll need to reach out to the warden's office first and let them know that they want to allow you to have contact with them, so you can call out to whoever has given approval to the warden. As far as the other provision, I'm not gonna make any condition as to that. That will be something that would be left to a civil court if there is a lawsuit down the road and judgment, et cetera. So, all right, that being sentence court. Yes. execute the non-pros on the other indictment based upon the conviction on this case.
Will you read that? Make sure you're good.
Yes.
Let's see. All right. Yeah.
You're looking live at now the family of
We got-
Melody Farris.
I got another sentencing, but it's not for another 35 minutes. So if y'all want to break stuff down, you're all welcome to.
The judge going through the formalities of the sentencing, but there's anything but typical sentencing. Earlier, we saw Sarah Boone earlier. It was this week where she just teed off on the victim, George Torres. And here, Melody Farris blaming that guy, her son Scott, saying he did it. It's funny. I was just thinking of my relationship with good old Carm, whether she would ever throw me under the bus like that. But that was tough to watch. Obviously, not taking the sentencing well. She got life, 30 years plus 5 with the possibility of parole. So she in her, I think she's 63 if I'm correct. That would put her at 93 and will likely be spending, no matter what, the rest of her years behind bars. I mean, she was relentless about pointing the finger at her own son and her family. And there's people now, including maybe the judge. I think he did do it. Look at this. I believe he did do it. And then you've got etc. here. The way people continue to malign Scott, did you not hear? He was ruled out. Your assumptions or opinions are just that and baseless. The judge here saying he doesn't want her torturing Gary. But needless to say, the judge also is prohibiting contact with the family. It seems like there's going to be no love lost there. It's sad to me that some families just break apart like this. Literally, a mother accusing her own son is tough to watch, no matter the circumstances. The victims' families are not allowed to go through things like this. Where I'm from, those convicted can't even address victims. That would be Canada up north. Yeah, 2 crazy sentencings. This one, of course, Melody Farris, and as I said, Sarah Boone just went off in a way that I could not believe, basically blaming everyone but herself, including me and other YouTubers. She blamed YouTube, social media, and people in this world as well for her actions. So screw you, Sarah. You're in prison. You're going to be there the rest of your life. Not me. Anyway, Melody Farris looks like it is basically a life sentence for her. Obviously, we're going to expect to see appeals. Thank you for joining us here for this sentencing, which got off to a very late start. We're coming back in a little less than 2 hours. Yes, please make sure I never go to prison. Please free me and free my pug, Fred, who's still in the shoe, even though the COE is at home. Anyway, we're coming back at 12:30. There's a lot of interesting developments. December 20th is the sentencing of Richard Allen. There you go. By the way, is that going to be streamed? Does anyone know if that will be on camera? Julie Frew, I'm sure you'll know. Let us know about that. Thank you all for being here. Come back 12:30. And we will be doing the latest on the manhunt in New York City. Shout out to Space Coast gifting 5 Surviving the Survivor memberships. Not only is he one of our hardest working members of SCS, he's also the most generous. So there you go. See you guys 12:30 p.m. We're back with again the manhunt for the CEO, not to be confused with the COE. Love you all.